What if I told you you could make millions bringing a trend from Korea to Australia?
Which I thought was absolutely crazy. I purchased some and I absolutely loved it. But then when I came back to Australia, I couldn't find it for years. No one was selling it in the country.
This is exactly what Pam and Yi have done with their newest brand, By Me and Crew.
So if it's something that you've thought about constantly non-stop and you want to do it, just do it. There's no business that has no problems.
But their entrepreneurial journey is littered with obstacles that would have stopped most entrepreneurs, including racism, mental health issues, and extreme competition.
I never thought would actually happen in Australia, and it was so shocking to me that it happened to me in person.
I'm Davie Fogarty, and this is yet another memoir of my mentoring students.
Hi, my name is Pam. I'm the co-founder of By Me and Crew. We're Australia's first semi-cured gel nail stickers.
Hi, my name is Yi, and I'm the co-founder of By Me and Crew.
My dad is from Vietnam, my mom is from Hong Kong, and they both immigrated to Australia when they were pretty young because they were the youngest in their family. I was born here, they met through school, and to be honest, I never really had much challenges about being Asian and Australian because I lived in Springvale, which is just a hub for Asians. The challenge came when I first started trying to look for work. I actually had a really hard time at 16 and going into uni. All of a sudden, I was surrounded by people more outside of my culture, so more Westerners, more Aussies. I just remember trying to interview for jobs for Christmas casuals and I couldn't even get in to get a job, but I actually saw that as a good thing for me because that is what encouraged me to start my own first business. I was selling things on my own. I was selling them on eBay. I started like a Facebook page before there were even pages. For Asian parents, I think their reference of what careers there are is usually accountants, lawyers, doctors. And so I knew nothing else of what kind of career was possible outside of that. I was 2 years into a 3-year degree and I was like thinking of all the scenarios in my head of what I should tell my parents that I want to change my course completely. Luckily, they took me to the temple and then we had to do like prayer sticks to see if it was a good decision. So thank goodness the Lord said yes. Because of that prayer stick that came up, my mom let me change my course. I was able to intern into marketing, and that's where I learned about like activation, but also had a major culture shock. Going into an agency in Paran, everyone was Western. And I remember they had a meeting with clients coming in and they're like, Pam, can you just help set up like just the water for all the clients that are coming in? The really shocking thing for me was also my parents always taught us to like never speak like up towards our elders, like it was always respect. So then going into work, it was also very challenging for me to then input my ideas because I felt like I was the most junior. Like literally my title was intern. So I was afraid of contributing into the team because I didn't want to speak up to them. I didn't want to challenge anyone's ideas. But also I just had my first racist encounter, which I never thought would actually happen like in Australia. And like it was so shocking to me that it happened to me in person. The whole team was just sitting in an open office space. I was facing my back on the wall, so everyone was like kind of like behind me, just like eating and having lunch. And then I remember one of the guys there was eating spaghetti. And then they're like, Pam, like, aren't you gonna have your lunch soon? And I was like, oh yeah, I'll have it soon. I didn't really say anything. And then he was eating spaghetti and he goes, oh Pam, what's spaghetti in Chinese? Is it ching chong? I was like, I was shocked. And he was pretty senior up, so no one in the office spoke up for me either. It actually really taught me to learn to speak up. So during university, I was doing an internship, 2 part-time jobs, and also trying to run the side business. And that's when I started dabbling into Instagram. I was one of the first people selling on Facebook. I didn't see anyone else doing this. And my first order came in at $200 cash. I was like, what is happening? My first customer that came in was like in an envelope and she was just like counting the cash. Back then there was no PayPal. It wasn't as popular. So people were like literally shipping money in envelopes to my house. I would open it up, like the dollar would be like stuck down to a piece of paper with a thank you note. Yeah, it was really fun. I even was selling lingerie at one point, fake eyelashes. I was selling through Facebook before they even had like pages. So I was manually adding people to become friends. I remember maxing out on 5,000 because that's the most amount of friends you could have on Facebook. And people that weren't buying from me, I would remove them from my list so I can continue adding more people. And I would actually directly message them in their inbox as well, just to like introduce myself and introduce my products. But after I got my first few customers from that, I actually would start adding their friends who looked like would be interested in the same things. And then I also knew that they would be in the same demographic and area. Because the way that I was selling to these customers was I would meet them at the big clock at Melbourne Central in between my university breaks. So I actually was doing quite well. I also was selling on eBay. I think we got up to like 1,000 reviews. After doing all of that, I knew that I just enjoyed business, so started my own marketing agency. That did really well for 5 years, and then we hit COVID, so naturally we couldn't go out to film anymore, and our whole background was about content creation. I remember one day on Facebook, there's a group called Subtle Asian Traits. It was so popular, it was so big, and basically there was like 2 million people plus inside. I think there's more now, but it's full of ABCs, which is basically Australian-born Chinese or American-born Chinese. From that group, one of the jokes that people were posting in the memes online was because it was COVID in Singapore, in Asia, even in Australia, they were closing down bubble tea shops, and people would put their bubble tea, the last one that they recently bought, onto eBay and auction it out for like $2,000 because you could not get it anywhere else if the bubble tea shops were closed. And I was like, that's insane. I was like, what if you could just make it at home yourself? And then that's where the idea for DIY bubble tea kits that you can make yourself really easily at home. We got all of the ingredients to put it together. We started taste testing. We're like, this tastes exactly like the bubble tea shop. And it should, because our ingredients were literally the same suppliers as those that would get into the actual shops that were selling it. We started like just making the videos, no packaging, no logo at that time. I remember just sitting in my living room on the floor, and I just like started filming making the drink. I remember when we first posted the video, it really took off because I posted it into Subtle Asian Traits as well. We knew that we wanted virality because my background was in marketing and viral content. I was like, we need like a viral aspect. So that's where Subtle Asian Traits, the Facebook group, came into play too, because I created a product which was a year's worth of bubble tea for I think $800 as a joke. Like, no, I didn't think anyone would actually buy it, but we knew this was something that might have a chance of going off on Subtle Asian Traits. We posted that. Within the first week, we had 100+ orders, and our packaging wasn't even ready yet. In our first month, we were being picked up by like Broadsheet and just PR, and so that hit 100,000 in the first month of launching. And then I met Yi in person 1 week into sales.
I actually born in Malaysia. I came over Australia when I was like 17, 18 years old to study my bachelor degree. I graduated in computer science. Well, during my uni days, I actually still kind of unsure what I really wanted to do. I had the idea where I kind of like start selling stuff online, and I just started selling stuff like random AirPods, pets items, or random products on eBay. I think during the start, there's actually not much of like this online course or like tutorial how to teach you how to like launch a product online. So I just testing out, trying everything myself. And I think probably going into like the first 5 months, that's probably when I kind of get my first order to order. And basically I kind of getting like $500 to $800 every month for like extra incomes during my uni days. I still continue studying, finish my bachelor degree, just don't disappoint my parents. Because I'm not a residency in like Australia, and it's really hard for me to get a full-time job after I graduate. I actually got into a restaurant working as a store manager, and my previous business partner, where Pam and Yi, came up to me and saying like, oh, they had these ideas and restaurants are closing during COVID time. I actually have nothing much to do during COVID time, and I actually really interested in business as well. So that's how I know Pam, buy everything in bulk and pre-pack into like smaller packet, and that's how kind of like we started launching like the DIY bubble tea business.
So I think out of all the co-founders, he was the last person that I met and probably talked the least to, but we ended up like getting along the most. When we started Bubble Tea Club, it was at the peak of COVID, which meant that everyone was at home and they're just constantly like scrolling their screens, looking for things to do to fill their time. And so I think they're more open to trying DIY bubble tea kits, because that was also when the sourdough bread phenomenon was happening. People were making their own bread. The Ghana coffee was going off. And so our kits were also one of the things that started going off as well, which was making bubble tea at home. I think the most interesting part was that we thought that we would just have Asians buying our products. So we thought that it'd be like in Glen Waverley, the Asian areas, but it turned out to be a lot of Westerners were buying our products because they kept seeing bubble tea like in shopping centers, but never knew what it was. But because we were communicating what bubble tea is and we had so many good feedback and reviews, we were actually starting to capture a whole new category of customers. Within the first 7 months, we were hitting 1 mil.
I think probably after a year, I know like a lot of big brand like Lipton and stuff start copying, where they start having DIY bubble tea kits into like Coles, Oodie, and like retail store.
Now looking back, and from like experience in business, we know that like October, November, December are your peak months. And having no e-commerce experience on Shopify before, we over forecasted for into the year ahead. And I think it was actually pretty common for a lot of people in e-commerce at that time. But then we over ordered and our stuff is perishable. Not only was it perishable, but they also arrived late from supply chain.
I think when the lockdown lifted, where people start able going back up, this DIY bubble tea kit or like other DIY stuff is actually became slower down. That's also when we have our overstock issue.
It was a lot going on, and I think at that point, I've been doing business, like I said, since I was 16 years old, and I was always juggling like 3 to 4 jobs from the fear of like one thing not working out. It was a year that was really challenging personally for me as well, because I just had like a couple deaths in my family, and so that was a lot to deal with, on top of burnout from working as being a founder since I was 16 years old. Like when you have people in your family that are passing away, you kind of like question yourself, like, how am I using my time? Because I spent so much time on building the business, and we got such great results from it. Like obviously you put in the effort, but nothing else in my life I felt like was given enough attention. And it was a sign for me to exit. It was very, very hard deciding to do that because I felt like I was giving up. So ultimately, I didn't even care how much the shares were worth. It was so draining on my mental health. I was like, my mental health is worth more than whatever these shares are worth. So yeah, we just kind of sold it and exited the business from that point. Right prior to COVID, I actually did a very spontaneous trip out to Korea. I went into Olive Young, which is like their equivalent of Priceline, and I discovered semi-cured gel nail stickers, which is basically salon gel that you could get in the sticker form, which I thought was absolutely crazy. I purchased some and I absolutely loved it. But then when I came back to Australia, I couldn't find it for years. No one was selling it in the country. I briefly mentioned this to Yi. I was like, oh, like I discovered this product, but I can't find it anywhere. And Yi's strength is being a great executor, so he literally started going online and trying to source the product.
I actually go onto like Alibaba, which is like kind of one of my strengths for my previous business as well, where I've been doing sourcing. And I've been reaching out to like 10, 20 different supplier, nail manufacturer, beauty manufacturer, and none of them actually know about these products until I actually found one where they actually mentioned to me that they are still in production phase, testing phase.
But they sent in normal nail stickers. So it wouldn't cure, it wouldn't harden. It was just nothing like what I had seen in Korea because the technology originated from Korea and Japan. And so China at that time was just getting into this trend.
A few months later, the supplier actually come back to me and mentioned to me like, oh, the product is actually ready. So yeah, so I just got in like some samples from the supplier and gave Pam to try it out, and yep, she just loved it.
Yi gave it to me, I put it onto my nails, and then only within the first couple of weeks, people were like, oh, where'd you get your nails done? Because it looked like it was from the salon. I was like, oh no, I did it myself. And they're like, oh no, what do you mean you did it yourself? And so I knew there was a demand there. I then decided to film the product like I did for Bubble Tea Club, where I filmed it again from, this time was my bedroom, not my living room. I used the monitor screen as my background. I was posting it onto Facebook and Instagram, which are 2 platforms I was very familiar with. But one thing I learned from my previous business is that I should have hopped onto TikTok sooner. I was refusing for the life of me to download TikTok. I said I'm not going to do any dances, but here I am now filming my hands and my feet. The ones that took off were the French tip because people couldn't believe that you can just stick on a French tip. Traditionally, it's very hard to put on yourself. That video, I think, hitting over 15 million views on TikTok. I then took that video and put it onto Instagram, and that hit over 5 mil. And I started just organically growing. At first, within 6 months, we were at 300,000 followers for TikTok. People were reposting our videos onto their platforms, and accumulatively, I saw like 300 million views across our products. We became the first and fastest growing. I think we have the biggest nail social media platforms on Instagram and TikTok against like these giants who have been around for ages. From that video, we knew we had a really promising product because people just loved it. They'd never seen it before. And I just filmed every single day. I was posting every single day, filming at 5 p.m. till like night just to get a video up because I was just in the momentum. I was like, I need to keep up this momentum. I've also learned from my previous business to not get tired and just give up, because in my first ever business, I had momentum, but then when I hit one bad thing, I stopped. Whereas this time, if I was posting 100 videos and then 2 videos are flopping, instead of stopping and thinking, oh, this is not working anymore, I just continued pushing through, and that's where we got to like our following now. It was very different to when we launched Bubble Tea because we went all out, like non-stop. Whereas for By Me and Crew, I actually learned to slow down, and that slowing down would be beneficial for me because it gave me time to think and reflect on what's actually working. After I gave myself a mental break and like even stopped myself from setting goals for a new year, because I did that every single year. It was the first year I set no goals for myself and just prioritize slowing down and learning to do that. that after 6 months of that slowing down, I started like getting so much more energy about being creative. That's where my TikTok took off. One of our videos was 11 million views, then it was like 48 million views and another 45 million views. And like I remember on TikTok trends, there's like a page and our videos were next to Anna Paul. Like, what's happening? Like, ever since we hit the first 7 figures, we collaborated with Instagram. They reached out to us to ask us to create personalized Instagram and Fred's nail stickers for their creators events. We decided to test out launching into the US with the help of Daily Mentor because our videos were going viral, but we were based in Australia, and so we'd have people coming from US wanting to buy our products. We're like, this is a massive sign for us to launch into the US. So many people were just asking us about it. We started preparing for retailing because of the viral videos as well, we had retailers reaching out to us within Australia and also in the US as well. So there's just so many exciting opportunities. And again, now we're just kind of prioritizing what's the right move for us as well. I just believe that this business can be built with self-care first. And so a lot of our products has ended up in the hands of moms and actually entrepreneurs. So people who never have time for themselves. And they message me being like, your nails have saved my products. It's the first time I've ever done something for myself. And then they feel so good about it because you spend 15 minutes on your nails. And then for the rest of the 2 to 3 weeks with them on, you catch a glimpse of it and reminded yourself that you've done something for yourself. So that's been super rewarding. But I also want to build a business and grow it to 7, 8, 9 figures and show that you can also do it while prioritizing and being a mom and kind of just challenging what a typical successful entrepreneur can look like. If you're young and you're early in your 20s, I think it's such a great time to start a business. It looks so different now. Like when I started business when in my early 20s, 10 years ago, there was no TikTok and no female entrepreneurs coming out to showcase their challenges. Now you have that, like you have programs that never existed before. So if it's something that you've thought about constantly nonstop and you want to do it, just do it. There's no business that has no problems. So if you're worried about starting because you think there's too many problems, that is business solving problems. So you're actually on the right track.
Both of us had really good vibes and we connect really well. Even sometimes we don't really talk that much with each other. We actually know what each other is thinking. I
think because our personalities are pretty opposite, it actually complements it pretty well. And I think you need it for business because in business, there's like the creative side, marketing, and so I'm definitely that person that like shoots ideas left and right, make very last minute changes, and Yi is someone that's really great at executing. So again, like back to launching this business idea, I had the idea for it, but Yi is actually someone that would then hear it, go find the products and actually launch it. And because he did step 2, then I was able to do step 3. He does step 4, step 5, and things just worked really well. So I think both of us have our weaknesses, but I think it works because we understand what the weaknesses are and just support each other through it as opposed to like challenging each other about it.